Hey people, you know this old red bonnet, it's got an ancient history in the People's Rebellion. But back in the day it wasn't to drain the swamp, it was actually to drain the cesspool. You see he looks like old city worker, he got that tool to take the cover off your cesspool, off the sewer cap. And that's what this represents, and you can see it right here plain as day. This is Egyptian symbol for pool. And this is a fish hook. It's an X, a cesspool. And that's what this is. If you put in a cesspool, you're going to put in this papyrus sedge. That's what this is, papyrus. And they found out a long time ago, at least 5,000 years ago, they knew that if you had feces running into the river, the papyrus would grow real thick. The papyrus love feces. And that's why you put it in your cesspool. It cleans the water. So if you have a sewage leak somewhere, it's really easy for the mariner official to find where your sewage leak is, because this papyrus will be growing really good out there in the river right there. And he comes up and he cleans up the swamp. And that's what this is. This is the Arm and Hammer. This is the ancient logo of Arm and Hammer. You might recognize it looking like this. But they were first only associated with baking soda and washing soda. You know, cleaning products, washing salts. And so he represents Vulcan, the fire god, Ra. And you can see on the front side of that he has this thing that looks like a toilet on his head. And a coil here. And I'm pretty sure that's what this means, is the toil. You know, toil, the work. The spring does the work. The toil, the coil, and the toilet, and a fish and all, and that, THT, that rain deliverate. You know, the dog that bit you is eating on your liver, the hair of the dog. That's letting you know this is liver. This is a kidney, and everybody else in the world calls this a rain. The rain deliverate. The rain deliberate. And the people are marching with him. And this is a parrot. And when you have a couple parrots hanging around, boy, it's getting real parody around here. This is a parody, you know. And the official, that rain deliberate parody. So I'm real thrilled with the way the election went. I don't vote, I never will. But I'm thrilled that everybody else went and voted. And for all the pink, yellow, purple, and green-haired freaks out there that are hating on Trump and saying that he bangs whores and pays them to keep their mouth shut, you know, that's not true. Because if he paid her to keep her mouth shut, she wouldn't have said anything. You know, her word's no good in court. But this is just an accepted fact from the ancient Arm and Hammer party. And that's what this is. This is the oldest writings we have of the Arm and Hammer party. They call him King Den, also known as the Horde and Doing Woodham. He's a whore and doing Woodham. That's why you elected him to be your king, because he was a horde and doing. And so this King Den here, I think this is just like the second pharaoh of Egypt is what they say. But the word Den, that means the knowledge. And this is a famous old pose. You'll see it on many of the kings. They'll be standing in this pose. And it's the pose of smite. Smite. And the smite is this might. You know, they always stand in this pose. And so this smite, you know, this means, you know, this might learn you the knowledge of good and evil. You need a little smiting. This knowledge of good and evil, I think the Hebrew is the easiest to read, but it's, you know, WOTS, what's, and then EDOT, what's said at. The knowledge is what's said at to borrow. To borrow, that's usually your neighbor, but this is the tuber of. And what's at, to edit, to remove a part of, the tuber, to dig the roots. And in the Greek, you know, this is Denny. This is Den, is the knowledge. And to wide in agnoston call of, upon her of. too wide and agnostic calling upon her of. And they'll tell you, that agnostic, means to believe there is no way of knowing anything about God, to believing there is no knowing. But what caught me here was in the Latin. And in the Latin, it's the scientists, the AE reading as ES, the scientists of Bonn, good yet mally, good yet evil, or the scientist Bonnet mally, the bonnet, the hair net, and the malice and the hammer. And it's where I found this. And so this is actually the first place that the Lord God comes up in the Bible. Dominus, the Lord God, Dominus Deus, and produce it, Q, Dominus Deus. So if you paid attention in indoctrination, you're going to say, no, this is Hedget, this is the crown of the south, the upper Egypt. Except as the same as with the Deshret, the red crown, no example of the white crown has been found. It's not a crown, it's a white bonnet. It's time to clean up. All the Egyptian crowns, none of them are something you wear on your head. It's what's in your head. It's what you're thinking. And this one is the Edget. And he has an edge. And his edge is the knowledge. And know. But this comes up the first place you'll find Dominus Deus. The Lord God in the Bible. It's always just Deus. All the way through Genesis 1. And then down here to Genesis 2:4 is the first time they're going to put the Lord God in there. And this is actually the beginning of the book of Genesis. When you're going to write a book, first you sit down and you write a page telling the people, this is the situation I was in, and this is what gave me the idea of this, and this is why I wrote this book. And that's what's going on all the way through Genesis 1 and down to Genesis 4. And this is the book of Genesis right here. This is where it starts. You see in the Greek, and this is the book of thy Bible, the life as Genesis, the origins. And in the Hebrew, it's always easy to read. It's all it willed what? Everything goes in your will is your children, the generations. And all it willed what is in. The MIM reads as an N, ESN, is in, and willed what is in. Where it's in ever am biome, as what Jew is a value, is a number value. What Jew all they marks was in. What value all they marks, all they writing was in. And then in Greek, it's of thy vival as, of thy life as, gives hose whoring of. And just sowed of in it too. And just sowed, the G reads as an N here. Same as in the word angel. And here it has nothing before it. It reads as a G, and the N is reading as a V, and gives hose. Of thy vival as gives hose whoring of, and just sowed in of a touch him here the fees, and just sowed in of a touch him here the fees. Him here, this double H here, making this one read as an I, and a mirror is a part, not a day, and you'll see it over here. And the touch him here, his fees of audios. In the beginning was the word audios. And he works in the audios to now ran on what engine. And over here in the Greek, this is a station. If you're a duty station, that's a place. And if you're staying at a hotel and you call out for a prostitute, you would send the note on a stationery, and it tells the place you are, the stationery. It has the information on where you could be found in the court official, the station. And I use the example of a prostitute because that's what the book's about. And you see it in Genesis 1 28 after he's blessing everything he made. But a station to generate and Johns. To generate Johns, that means a pimp. The station to generate Johns. And the cash Liatarius. A double R reads the T-E-R-I and the A-E reads the E-S. And so it hides the word, the Hebrew word, the Greek word for love, Y-E-S. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes, Jesus. Oh, yes. And so it's the cash Liatarius. Ataria, the cat, where you go to eat, and love, where you go eat love, where you go get your love. And quando, where do creation, in through part, quo, in through part of fees it, same over here, in through part made a Dominus Deus. And Dominus means the homeowner. You'll see this in a contract of a sharecropper, and the one who owns the property, he is Dominus Deus. The domain was the domain used. And he made his part, his quo, his part, fees it, he made his money by owning the property. He made his money by owning the whorehouse, Dominus Deus. Indi quo fecit Dominus Deus. The castle, the Castlum Aterium, is my house. And so a station, a generate Johns is, that could be a whore on the street corner. Is the cash Liatarius. Where do creation in through part makes it the Dominus Deus. And so you see the creation of Dominus Deus on Genesis 1:28. And I got this laid here a little different. The Hebrew here, you see that across from the dominion, the domain, to have dominion over the fish. In the Hebrew is the word W-R-D, the word of digit. The digit him, the word of digit him. That's to point around, I get over there and do this. And this is the Latin and the Google interpretation of the Latin, and then the Greek underneath that. And so dominion over the fish is the subject, the subject, the ham, that was, to be your slaves in your brother's tent. And the ham, dominum, the dominum in, to dominating, dominum in, the offici, I-F-I-S, officivus, to official, the officiating, the officivus amor is. And in the Greek, you can see it's a kata, according to, and then the cure, that's the Greek word for the Lord they have hidden in there. And according to the cure was at. And so you see this word dixit here. This dix is what I'm spitting out. When I'm spitting out orders, and he said, and dixit, and tells you what to do. And Q is to point it out. And dixit cued who's. The one who's telling us what to do and pointing it out. And you see up here, it's Benedixit Q Ilias. Q Ilias. And so the one that has been a Dixit telling us what to do, Q pointing it out. Ilias is anything that makes you ill is too much of. Ilias, too much of it. And Benedixit Q Ilias. Ducitate, attate is to dictate, to tell him what to do. But I was telling you a couple movies back, there was two creations of man. And the first man, he was told that he could eat anything, and he was made in the image of God. And it doesn't say anything about him getting a soul. That was the second creation when they put soul in man. And so this man doesn't have a living soul. It's to whom is a living soul, that they may have food, that they can eat the soul man. And you see over here in the Hebrew, it's at the color faux, F-O-S, the faux black. The color of the faux black, and then a Levi, L-E-V-I, E-I-C-N, the Leviathan. And at the color of faux black Leviathan. And you see over here in the Greek, and that they may have food is upon to shorten the color on his bruising. And so the people working out there in the field, you tell them, hey, you can eat whatever's been damaged and bruising the black, and that goes in the brew pot. You can't sell it as fruit, but it'll brew up good. The coloring on his bruising is the black. But anyway, the first page of the Bible is all your prelude. And then, and it comes down here in the book of Genesis is the station, the generations, the Cashlieteries, quando, where, when do creation. And so the first paragraph in the Bible, it ends with this, the scientists of the good and evil, the science of the Bonnet and Malley. And what this says is the products it cued them in used, who's the homo omni lignum. And so the products it cued them in used who's, that's on the front of this Wheaties box. Hey, I eat Wheaties and I won the Olympics. And you should eat Wheaties too. The same, the homo omni, all. Lignum is not a tree. Lignum is wood. The same as the Zulon is never a tree. It's always a wooden product. And wood is a big stiffy, and it's also what they should do. And the products it cued them in use who's the same, the homo, all wood. And you should all use the products I use. And the fulcrum visuit ad. And so the fulcrum is the point, the pivot point between you and an object you want to move. But a fulcrum visu is some point between the object you're wanting to look at. The one I want to look at in between, in my view, the fulcrum visu, it's ad. And they got this ad trying to sell me this damn Vicendum Suave Lignum Edamvites. The Vicendum Suave Lignum Edamvites. E-T, the I-A reads as a U. The Edamvites. The magic pills that make me run faster. In Ascendum Suave, in good wood, Edamvites. And so this is Viagra. And had a Vicendum Suave, good, slick, smooth. A suave, a lignum, woodum, Edamvites. In media parodies, alignum, Q. To Q is to get it in your sights, to line it up. In media parodies, alignum, Q. Scientists, Bonnet, Malley. And you see that lignum most of the time, it follows a E or a A. But the homoum in, the samum in alignum, the fulcrum visuit ad. They're right in their way where they're trying to put my ad up there. It's what the media does. When you're trying to watch something, they're going to put an ad up there in front of you. In ascendum is suave alignum, is a good alignum met with vites, with life. In media parodies alignum, so they're aligning the parody in the medias with the scientists of the good and evil, the ancient scientists of the bonnet, the time for rebellion, bonnet, mallet, the hammer, the hood and hammer. The lignum vites is the ancient tree that they learned cured the syphilis. The lignum vites, the wood of life. It's a really hard wood. If you want to talk about a hard on, if you got a lignum vite, you got a really hard on. It's good for making a mallet. You can make a hammer out of this wood. It's so hard. Way harder than hickory. It was the wood that was anciently used in bearings and gears of clocks. Hard wood. It was often used to make mortars and pestles. Wikipedia tell you they didn't learn of this cure for the syphilis until the 16th century. But I'm pretty sure the Latin Bible is older than that. So I didn't hit Google Translator on this, but we can look over here in the Greek, and cause to rise up. The products it cutum in used tos. Yeah, you help that company out if you just go tell them that this shit works. We got them lignum vites. And in the Greek it's of a tile noticity. You're entitled to noticity because you're famous, that the and coming before E reads as a bet, a B or a V. And you see that of a tile in when he says, and he gave is what they usually give it. And what's of a tile, a noticity, a noticity. And you're so famous. And Eck over here is from, I'm not sure how that reads sometime. I think it's because in the Septuagint, you'll have the mark to read it backwards and forwards. And that'll turn it into a lek, which means a male's place. A male bird, when he makes the place, hoping to have a mate come, as a lek. And lek this gist and noticity of his little male den, this location, this gist. And pencil on her a advise, not advise. I advise you to take your pants off. And they get that from the tree. Usually the tree in the Hebrew is hots. The tree is eots, hots. And it's usually her taking her clothes off because it's hot. She's hot in them. So he's old suave talking over here. He's a suave. And over here, and it's of entile of in noticity. Everybody knows of this place of Ek, of this place, of this location, this gist, that the pencil on or a advise you take your plants off. And aura is in, and the lights is in, and call of his brews in, to call up my wine. And talks will on, this is O's. Talks will on this, and is O's is what you owe your life to. And he named her Zoe because she was the mother of all life. This O's. And in 'em so too a parodies of. And in 'em so too a parodies of. And talks will on to wide in. The a not knowest on. Call of upon her of. Hey baby, what's your name? Names meant power back then. You never give up your name. And so that's why in the Hebrew, that's in the Jew, it's the number, it's the value. And in the Hebrew, it's much you halem. And it's much you halem in Adam. And it's much and may grow. And it's this much and how much you've grown. And it's much. And you halem is Jew is to value, is to praise them in, to call them in, to praise them, to give value in halem, to call them in had them the clocks, and so you're a prostitute and you're having many men on the clocks. And on the clocks in come the more is. And dub, and double macklewuts, and good for food. That's That's Donald Trump there. Give me one of them double Macklewoods. Chime, the chime. And the chime is the time of your life. The chime. The CHYIM. IYM. The chime. And the chime in took. The time of my life in tookagin. And tookagin is what you took, the thing that you took. Took that ass, in tookagin. In tookagin what's? Edit the crown of Upper Egypt to borrow. The crown of Upper Egypt to borrow, which looks more like a condom of the knowledge of good and evil. The condom on your head. So I ain't been able to talk in about 3 weeks, and I still can't talk real well. These teeth are tough. I'm going to cut this off here. And I might not have been making movies, but I've sure been reading a lot. I was reading the New Testament, and I had nothing but the Latin to line it up to. I never read the Latin. It was real difficult. But in that New Testament, I'd found something that just helped me to make that Latin click. And I've been lining it up in the Old Testament, a couple verses now. And it's coming on pretty easy, and I think it's only because of the Greek. The Greek helps it. The better understanding of the Greek and the Hebrew. Like I say, it's all the same language. It's just all written. You can't interpret the Bible. You can rewrite a Bible. It's all written in idioms, and not two writers are going to write their idioms the same way at a different time. It depends on what the words mean at that day. I'm going to cut this off here, and good day.